Hello, I'm Sean Lambert, and it's been a very long time since I put out a video, mainly because I was sick as a dog basically the entire month of February, and, you know, lots of work and stuff. But I actually have been filming that whole time. I just have not had the energy to edit, and that's really been the limiting factor. So I figured today I would make a quick video that I'm not gonna edit. So this is unedited, raw footage from a new game for me. Not a new game in general, but for me. And it's Der Weltkrieg. And this is my first real World War I game that I'm ever gonna try. And it's a very interesting World War I game. World War I itself is a topic that I kind of have an on and off interest in. I'm not as serious about it as I am about World War II, but I recently went to the bookstore, picked up a few new World War I books. Again, new to me, not new in general. And I've been really enjoying them. So as I work on setting this bad boy up, I wanted to talk about kind of World War I games in general, and Der Weltkrieg in particular, because I do think that upon my brief look at different World War I games, there's kind of two general classes of strategic World War I games. You have the Paths of Glory and similar games to that, card-driven, very good, very detailed about the history. Then you have kind of like operational or tactical games where they're about a portion of the war, and those are usually very good. But I think the category that is probably least served is games similar to A World at War for the entire, either the entire Western Front or the entire Eastern Front. And Der Weltkrieg is one of the rare ones that sits in there. I know there's a few others, probably, I don't know, a dozen or so games that cover this whole subject. But the reason I went for Der Weltkrieg instead of one of the other great World War I strategic scale games is mainly because I was really interested in trying out the terrain system. I think this terrain system is really interesting. I think the other parts of the game are maybe a little bit overly complicated for what they are, and I want to talk about some of those. But overall, it's not a super complex game. I mean, it's not a huge rule book. I think it's very approachable. Now, there is a grand campaign game where you can play the entire war. I'm not playing that to start, because I'm starting like a 1v1 kind of multiplayer scenario. And then I'll probably move up to playing the grand campaign with a larger group of people. But this one is Tannenberg, Eagles in the East is the subtitle. And then you also get Galicia, the Forgotten Cauldron. And so this is kind of Eastern Front, early war, and there's a few units here compared to like a Western Front scenario. So it's easier to set it up, it's easier to work through the rules and manage it. So that's why it was suggested to me as a good starter one. And I would have to agree. I think it's going to be a great starter. These are the series-specific rules. If you do want to play the whole game, I've sort of set up a pack of the rules, and I've started working on the Vassal module. It hasn't really been updated all that much in the recent years. This version originally is quite old, I think from like, I don't know, like 2013, 2014. So shortly after the game came out in its final form, this Vassal module was started. Let me see. About it doesn't tell you the actual date of the. Oh, maybe I'll say in here. I think it's 2014-ish, somewhere in that area. And I don't think it's been updated that frequently since then. But it's kind of a wonky setup, if I'm going to be honest. Usually in Vassal, you have your campaign map that's kind of plugged into the rest of the game, but in this one, it is like a separate window, which I find odd. I don't know why they went that way. Maybe for multi-monitor use, it's a little bit better. I only have one monitor, unfortunately, so for me, it's just kind of another thing to deal with. I've added the CRT and player aids. I'm using the optional CRT. This is from the logged version of the SPW website. And supposedly the impetus for using this CRT over the standard one that comes in the box is that it smooths out the bottom end. So a lot of these, like less than 10 strength point combats, apparently were a little bit too brutal or something like that. There's some issue with the low end of the CRT in the box. So they offered this other version, probably in a magazine or something. I don't exactly know the backstory of this, but it this supplements the normal CRT. And there's two periods. There's a 1914 and a 1917 version of it. So I'm using that. I've also I've typed up the sequence of play in a slightly more readable format, hopefully for my brain anyways. These are the exact words from the game, so I'm not like confusing anything, but I just wanted to organize it slightly differently. The terrain effects chart also not included in the standard Vassal module as far as I could tell, and very, very critical because this game is a lot of terrain. And I think I want to talk a little about that before I continue setting up and go off on tangents and such. But before I get to that, I also included the combat rules, 5 pages of those. And the fact that there are 5 pages of combat rules is actually really good, because it really explains everything you need to know. And I think the combat in this game is relatively straightforward. So compared to a lot of games where the combat is everything, in this game it is important, but I like that it also includes supply and production and stuff like that. And so those are the parts that I'm most excited to learn. So let's go back to the terrain effects. And we have terrain effects chart, but then we also need our terrain chart. And some of the most interesting terrain probably isn't even in this scenario. Actually, the mountainous terrain right here. This is what I'm thinking of. So this terrain here is wooded rough. It's a combination terrain of the forest, which is this dark green with the little tree symbols, and basically rough, which is kind of one step short of mountains. So normally, wooded costs you 2 MP, and rough costs you 3. But when you combine them, it actually costs 4, which is very expensive because, for the most part, you have maybe 5 movement points. So these guys are 8/5s, but in the Austrian army, there's a lot of 8/4s, or a lot of low value units, like 1/4s, 2/4s. So maybe looking at like these brigades here, you can see that I only have 4 movement points. So they get stuck very easily. And there's places where they essentially cannot cross because of these wooded rough terrain. So they have very limited options of where they can go. So like you see here, if you're a 4 movement point unit, you kind of have to go in these passes, like in here or over through here. So it creates these natural choke points, which I think are really, really interesting and really cool. So like gives you obvious places to fight over, which I love. I really love the way that works. Now, obviously, if you're playing as the Serbians or the Austrians in the Serbia scenario, which I also have opened up somewhere here. So you can see here in this scenario, we're in a really tricky situation as the Austrians. The Austrians absolutely have to attack early on. It's in the rules. So in order to make their attack with the Fifth Army, they have to cross this river and, you know, start pushing the Serbians back. But the Sixth Army here is completely hamstrung because of the terrain. They could barely move at all. So, like, this guy was able to move 1 hex, for example. And that's it. That's all he could do. He uses his full movement points just to move 1 hex. So there's a lot of places here. There's no logistical capability to support them either. And so if you need to move units quickly, you don't really have that option. So there's a lot of railways and stuff back in the main area of Austro-Hungarian Empire, but down here there's nothing. And in Serbia, there's barely anything. So they've got this one railway here that basically goes from Belgrade deeper into the Balkans. But fighting your way through the Balkans is definitely a tall order. So I think that's a really cool scenario. I'm playing that scenario as well. This one I'm going to play solo. Tannenberg I'm going to play opposed. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now. And I'm trying to set up the Tannenberg scenario. It's a really fun game to set up too, at least in the Vassal, because the pieces are kind of customized. So you can rename them. You could do a lot with them. Change what army they're assigned to. And I really like playing with that kind of stuff. Gives me a very, I don't know, it tickles something. Alright, so I've already deployed the army for the Germans. I'm starting with the Germans, but I'll probably go back and do the rest of them later. So I deployed their army. I'm also getting concerned I'm on the wrong map. I don't think so. No, this is the right area. Because if I go further back, yeah, okay, I am in the right area. We do have some guys down here in Poland, or what is today Poland. So I gotta move them over. And there's also a lot of guys that are like mobilizing early on. So like in this mobilization schedule here, you have some units that are not available to move or attack early on. And I'm not sure how you can tell them apart, other than the fact that they'll come in on as reinforcements. Well, I guess this reinforcement schedule tells you in August on turn 3, which I believe is the starting turn, you get all your 8-5 and 2-6, but nothing else. And then the Russians get all their infantry under the First Army, but not the HQ itself, and all their 1-6 cav. And then on turn 4, they activate some more stuff. And by turn 5, everything is activated. So it takes you 3 turns to get your full army up to speed, which I love. I love scenarios like that. OCS often has parts like that, which I think are really cool. All right, let's get back to actually setting things up here. So I was at the top line here. These are at 0420. So we've got the third. Well, I need the division. There we go. The division is called the 3rd Reserve Division. And they are also under the 8th Army. I'm going to do that to all 3 of these actually at once. So Control A increases their army counter. So they're all under the 8th Army, except this guy is called what's the name? Oh, Control N. So the other ones are 6 LW and then 19 LW. 19 LW. So those guys are all set up. And then we have a 5.5 and 10.16. So this is back closer to the front. Although everything is very spread out here, which is kind of interesting. Just to close that. 5.5. Where is he? That's infantry. 10.16, and he is called the 35th RE. Which I don't know what RE stands for. If we were Britain, that would be Royal Engineer, right? I don't know what RE stands for. Reserve Elite? What would the E be? I don't know. Okay, so then in 11-14, we've got 224s, a couple brigades. What was that? 11-14. So right up the road here. The 69th E. Again, don't know what E stands for here. And the 70th LW. So if anyone knows what the E stands for, please drop it in the comments. It probably says in the rulebook. Maybe I'll check the rulebook. This is the kind of stuff that you get into when you're setting a game up from scratch and you don't rely on a setup guide. You get sidetracked a lot of the time. At least I do. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything. I don't know what LE would be. Guess it doesn't really matter. It's really the stats that matter for the gameplay, but I like the historical side of things. I know most of you guys watching this love the historical side. And that's really why we play the games, right? When we're playing them, not just for the game. If you wanted a great game, you would play something that's just a game. But if you want a game and a little bit of history, that's why you come to Hex and Counter war games like this. Because you don't get this experience from a video game or anything like that. Where you're trying to learn about things as you go. Alright, so then in 12-12 we have a bunch of 8.5s, which are really good. Okay, so one of them is the 35th. The other one is the 36th. Go, and then we have an engineer and 3 infantry brigades. So I'll just copy these, move them over to 1506. 1506 is Königsberg itself, and then we got to give them an engineer as well. I haven't run across engineers yet. Is it an engineering regiment? Yes, engineer regiment. Alright, so add him to the 8th Army, and then what's he called? The 17th? And then these two are called Oh, I need another one. And then one LW. And I'll copy the LW, obviously. Since his name is more similar. So anyway, I love setting up war games. I think Gilbert Collins had a video about this. I haven't watched it yet, but about setting up war games, and as opposed to using a computer or a preset Vassal module or something like that. I do personally love the act of setting up a game. It's one of my favorite parts of a game is the setup, and you get all these pieces on the board, get them all nice and neat and everything, and then you go blow them up. I mean, it's almost like playing with Legos in some ways. It's really fun. To me, it's a relaxing activity, and it's a little bit less mindless than just like clipping counters or something like that. So I like it a lot. It is one of my favorite parts of wargaming. 1908. These guys going all the way up to the border, huh? And especially in a nice Vassal module like this, where you get to rename things. It's a lot of fun. So we have a 36 and a 36 reserve. That's interesting. I wonder what the so like the reserve army in World War One, the reserves in general in World War One, were very, very important in the early phases of the war, as they would all get called up. And often the mobilization plans for reserves were such that they were essentially kind of, they were on a very rigid plan. The plan could not be easily changed. So they were going to where the plan location was, no matter what. You know, there's only one place they could go. So they were rather inflexible at the outset of the war. And Germany in particular was obsessed with making sure that their mobilization was going to be faster than everyone else's. Because one of the keys to the German strategy was being able to knock the French out of the war and then immediately turn and face the Russians, because they saw that the Russians would likely have a slow mobilization as opposed to their quick one, and they wanted to use that to their advantage so that they could basically face the French with their entire army and then turn and only then have to divide. Because they knew all along they were going to be fighting on two fronts. They just didn't know if they would be able to get one front solved in time. Now, ultimately, obviously, we know that was unsuccessful, that this was too big a war to fight that quickly. But I guess maybe their plans would make sense in the context of the time, because the French should have been an easier fight against the French if they had done what they did in like 1870, but the war had changed so much. And to be fair, they do get pretty close to doing almost exactly what they do in 1870. They get pretty close to Paris. Where's the 1-4? So it says it's a brigade, but it's a 1-4. I don't see a 1-4 brigade here. Oh, I guess it's just not sorted. 1-4 goes into 2009. There. And they are called Lots. L. And we have one more division to deploy. It's a 826 Cavalry Division. Cavalry divisions are also really important in the beginning of the war. And I think in this game, cavalry divisions are probably pretty powerful. And just from reading the rules, it sounds like, maybe I'm just barking up the wrong tree here, but it kind of seems a little bit like it's going to be a game about surrounding things more than it is about destroying them from the front. Where the hell are the cavalry divisions? Gosh. It starts to K. Okay. I was looking for a cav, but now that I know, it starts with K. Cavalry division. Yes. Let me just name one of those, 2305. And this guy's under 8th Army as well. And he actually is the first. Wow, okay. Cool. Alright, so the Germans are all set up except for their fortresses. Fortresses. Do they just have a list of fortresses? No. Do I have to use this one? That's annoying. Alright, well, we know where most of the fortresses are anyway, because they're kind of drawn on the map, but whoops, I meant to go further back with that. They're supposed to be all the way back here. Oh. Oh, can you not drag them once you have it? That's annoying. I'm gonna have to change that. Already found a module update I need to make. Okay. This one, and they spelled strength wrong too, that's gonna bug me. I think a German did this, so I don't blame him for that. Shit. Guess the strength is 24. These are not that easy to use. Oh, it puts that on the top. Yeah, I don't like that. Is there another marker I could use? Or do I just not care about it? Those are just so bad. I spelled devastated wrong too. Maybe there's fortresses under here. I don't know. Oh wait, hold on. There's a hidden tab. They're already set up. Perfect. Alright, so 815. I guess we put an 8 there. Alright, I mean that's 815. Unless it means this other 815. Put that, where's the other one? That's There's no other 815, so it's got to be this one. So we got one there. We got Fort at Danzig. Where's Danzig? I don't get why 914 would also have one. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird to have two Danzigs. Unless these are supposed to just be blank fortresses? Like, I don't get that. They're not in this list either. I mean, I'll put them down, I guess. It's just weird. Weird that they have those there. Okay. Cool. Clone is at 915. And then we have Thorn here. Marienburg. I know that. Played that in many Kriegspiel scenarios. That is all over von Moltke's books. 1111. There's a lot of good scenarios that happen around like the Oder River or even the Vistula in Kriegspiel. $11.11 up here. It's not. Yeah, that is right. $11.14. That's where these guys are. That should be this one. Allow 1307. I don't know how much these points matter in this particular scenario. I wish there were just in alphabetical order here. 1307. I mean, like, I guess I'll change this one out to 4. I haven't really been keeping track, unfortunately. I think this one is supposed to be higher, 24. Home is supposed to be 16. But whatever, I don't care that much. Lutzen, well, we'll do Königsberg. And I guess that one's supposed to be 24. And Lutzen. That's this X here. And Lutzen is supposed to be 16. But like, I guess you're supposed to have one here and here as well. So I guess I'll put them there. I don't know. All right, well, that's the German setup done and dusted. Yes. Kind of the best I could do here. So their army is all set up. Then I gotta do the Russians. And then we can play. But I hope this has been interesting to see kind of a different game and talk about a little bit about World War One and about setting up games in general. I think my favorite type of game to set up is a game where the initial positions are a little bit flexible. So like in OCS, you'll often be given within 2 hexes of such and such a town. And I do like those ones because you can kind of look at the terrain and say, okay, I want to be as far up this way as I can. So like if we had a rule where we could be within 2 hexes of Konigsberg instead of on top of it, I would put them up here or up here, like up on the roads somewhere. So it makes transporting them easier. But it's that kind of stuff that I think is really fun. I also love in games where you get to kind of place your depots or supply points and how those will impact your front lines. Obviously coming from like the video game version of this, where in War in the East you have so much importance placed on where your depots are and managing those depots and making sure that everyone gets their ammo and their supplies so that their combat value keeps going up. I like games that at least have a little bit of that, and I think that's kind of what's attractive about the Weltkrieg. It's definitely got enough of everything, but not too much of anything that I think I'll be satisfied with it. So I'll keep up and let you know how this game turns out. But overall, I just wanted to have an easy, quick little video that I could put up. So, till next time, see ya.